Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Craft Beer and Crypto, brought to you by JKJ Digital Assets. Today, what we want to do is we want to go back a little bit. You know, we've kind of built layer after layer in these videos. We started off simple. We've really built up. There's a lot of nuance to what goes on in the crypto world. But we were sitting around talking. We'd gotten some questions in. And, you know, Javier, we thought maybe we need to take a step back. Why are we doing this?
Yeah, just like you mentioned, you know, we've built up a good volume of videos, right? But we always forget there's always new people entering, and then there's some things that we go and we talk about, but we really don't explain it. One of our most loyal viewers had a question about centralized CEFI versus DeFi, trying to understand, trying to grasp what all that meant. So here we go for you. we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna broach that that topic.
Well, let's do some comparisons. Let's look at CEFI and DeFi. So let's start off. Let's look at CEFI. Number one, what is it? And John, what are like some pros and cons within the CEFI hemisphere? What do we got?
Some pros could be like ease of use for centralized finance. Centralized finance is really, it's easy. It's what we're all used to. We'll play ping pong. What's a con, JD?
Run that by me one more time.
What's a con for centralized finance?
For centralized finance?
Yeah.
That it is centralized. Period. That all the rules and regulations that govern centralized finance are not. You're not privy to those rules.
Right.
You go to your bank and tell me that you can see everything.
The bank's got
you
its own
You go
rules.
there and you say, I want to know all the regulations, everything you do behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Oh, hell no, you're not going to see that.
So the buzzword that always is around right now, there's no transparency within a centralized financial system. I mean, there's lots of curtains there that things get moved around and decisions get made that we don't get to be a part of.
Yeah.
Well, let's like back up and define the two of them real well. So CEFI or centralized finance it's the kind of thing we see with banks. It's what we're most used to with banking industry. Like you take your money, you go to work, you earn money, somebody gives you a paycheck, you take it and put it in the bank. In that context, like the bank owns your money. It's your money because you have an account there, but they have possession of it. They can take it and do things with it. Like they can loan it out for people to buy houses or cars or whatever, and you have the assumption or the hope or whatever that your money's safe with them. Like the day that you want your money back, you can walk in there and go up to the teller and get your money back out. That's like the assumption to it. But it's centralized finance, if you cross over to the crypto context, it's the same thing. We would call it an exchange in the crypto world. You put your money in it or your crypto in it, and you give possession of it to that company. And if you want to go back and do some research on it, you can go back and watch our video that is talking about keys. Where are your keys? In a centralized finance context, the company you deposited with, they have your keys. So you don't have like possession or ownership of it in that way. They can do what they want with it. In a context like FTX, they were nefarious players, and they went and took that money or that crypto and they used it for their own interests. So the good thing about centralized finance, or really the unique thing about it, is it's the only way we use the term on-ramp, but it's the only way that you have to bring US cash or whatever your money is. If you're in Europe, it'd be euros or whatever. That's the only way to bring that into the crypto system, is through an exchange or a centralized finance context. Then you use that vehicle, you buy crypto, and then you can ship it off somewhere else. You can leave it in the centralized finance service that you have, but you're risking somebody being nefarious about it. You're trusting them to do the right thing, and you're trusting them that when you go back and want to remove your money or your crypto, that it's going to be there. So, and we all hope that people are good, but there are bad people in the world. So
JD, with that explanation of what centralized is, why don't you give us now like a definition of what decentralized is, and what's the probably obvious, but go ahead and let's hear it.
Well, like a hard definition there is the transfer and trade of financial assets without the intermediary. without that trusted intermediary that you see inside the in your banking industry. It could be 1, 2, it could be 3, several banks. You don't have that in the DeFi ecosystem. It's all run by smart contracts. So smart contract. I'm going to date myself going, back to the basic 8, back in the day where X plus Y, if those two equal Z, then this happens, right? Then give them an apple. That's essentially what's happening really at the ground level with these smart contracts. Somebody's written this smart contract, node operators that are protecting the DeFi network all look at all this. This is all open. It's not open source. It's viewable to the public. You can go ahead and verify all these smart contracts. It might not be open source. Doesn't matter. But it's trustless. So that you don't need the intermediary. You don't need one specific person like somebody over at FTX deciding, oh, well, I'm going to take all this money out. And it's, you own your keys. Again, the shortfall is that I can't bring my cash into the system just by going to with a credit card or whatever it is, my saving account, roping it into a DeFi network. I can't. I need a CEFI exchange for that. But at the end of the day, it's decentralized finance. It focuses on financial technologies and smart contracts. The biggest thing is without the intermediary, and another one is that you're anonymous. It doesn't care. There is no KYC. Inside the CEFI network, you have to go ahead and provide all of your information, right?
Know your customer.
Yeah, know your customer. So you have to go into, like going into a bank account. If you just opened up a savings account, driver's license, passport, date of birth, social security number, same thing for a CEFI exchange. They're heavily regulated, right? Especially Coinbase, Crypto.com that are here in the U.S., Kraken. You have to provide that information. But under DeFi, it doesn't care. Did I just say that with a southern
twang? You did.
You did.
Sounded more like me saying it.
Puerto Rico's pretty south.
Yeah.
So those are the big things. And if I had to really pinpoint on the big stuff, it's obviously transparency, because you get to see the smart contract, you get to see the information, you get to see all the information, how this contract's going to run. Node operators protected. Control. You control your crypto. So I tie my wallet to it. I want to buy that, and it's going to come right back into my wallet, and I use it. And then accessibility, right? It is accessible to everybody, any country, cell phone, I can get to it. Whereas a centralized exchange, you might not be able to do that.
Yeah, centralized exchanges can be, they call it geofencing. Like there's exchanges that are not allowed to operate in the United States, and if you're coming from a U.S. internet service,
Binance got kicked out.
Yeah, Binance is an example. They won't let you use it. So, you go on a vacation in Europe and you're using an exchange that isn't allowed in Europe, and you can't get at your money. That's a problem.
I won't say VPN out loud.
Yeah, get VPN. So the centralized versus decentralized. So crypto, like just generally, this is not specific to a crypto, but it's a digital piece of information that is packaged up by two things. One of them is a public key, the other one is a private key. And where that private key is your part. Like nobody can access that crypto without that private key. If you're in a decentralized finance context, you own that private key. You can store the data chunk, and you can store the public key in a lot of different places. You can store it on the internet hosted wallet. You can store it on a thumb drive type wallet. You can store it there, but it's not worth anything without the other half. The private key is your part. If you go to a centralized finance, they have both halves. You give them custody of both parts. So they have your public key and your private key, and then that gives them the ability to do anything they want with that little chunk of crypto. So that's the basics. Like if you go back and review our video, where are your keys? That's why we use that funny phrase, because centralized, they have your keys. Decentralized, you keep your keys. You're self-custodying your keys. You have custody of your keys. And that's the technical difference of the two of them.
Yeah, so don't get us wrong. I mean, we if you look at some of those earlier videos, we talk about centralized exchanges. Go to the centralized exchange, but kind of like the internet back in that Al Gore invented back in the 90s.
So fun.
Sorry about that. Anyway, going back to the internet back in the day, you didn't know where the internet was going.
Mm-hmm.
We really don't know where blockchain is going, what it's going to do for technology. So, I mean, the latest things are like AI tokens now. But what I'm getting at is, so as we evolve, we say, okay, well, now it's time to start learning about DeFi. There are some hang-ups with DeFi that make it very difficult. I can go to a CEFI exchange. I can go to Coinbase and buy Atom. I can buy Sora. I can buy just about any token that they have there, and it doesn't matter what blockchain, and this is where I'm going, it doesn't matter what blockchain that token belongs to, because they're able to go to those blocks and reserve a certain amount of cash so that, or in those tokens, so that you can buy any token from any blockchain. Whereas if you go to, unless it's like in the Ethereum mainnet, you might not be able to buy Avalanche. You got to buy wrapped Avalanche.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a degree of difficulty with that, especially if you want to go shopping into some of these other blockchains with your ETH. And that is a huge hang-up. So while I can do it with 3 easy steps in CEFI, it takes me 15 steps in DeFi. And those are some of the things that are going to have to be overcome by a lot of these decentralized exchanges. And again, now I'm going to take you back to the railroad tracks when Kevin and I were talking about layer 0, layer 1, 2, 3, and that's why we were telling you this is important to understand what these layers mean. What are they doing? Are they roll-ups? Are they just layer 1s, which are your primary Bitcoin ETH? Are they layer 0s, layer 2s? And when you're buying these tokens, so that you understand what you're buying, and it makes it, whether it's going to be easy, hard, 50 steps, 25, or do I go to a CEFI exchange and say, screw it, and then I'll move it? Where are you moving it, right? Because if you just bought wrapped, if you send it to the wrong network, you're going to lose all your money. So I'm sorry, I'm beating up DeFi at this point is what I'm doing. I'm giving you some of the cons on DeFi, and that's why we say that cryptocurrency demands that you read, that you learn. If you don't want to do that, then you go to the CEFI exchange, you go to Fidelity, you go to JP Morgan Chase that are about to open up their own exchanges, and that's where you go.
Yeah. And I think this is a great example of how, there's never a yes or no answer. I mean, both of these platforms serve a need, a purpose, and a place within the crypto world. The centralized are certainly there when you're getting started. Centralized is a place if you've got to bring cash in at some point, you have to go there. DeFi is great for if you want to be able to really have that feeling of security. If you want to be able to have that ownership and know that something's there. I mean, each one serves a different purpose at a different time during your crypto journey and during that process of purchasing and moving the crypto. So again, read up, study, understand where these things are going, understand the purpose of them, and understand what each one of these tools can do for you and what can you do to maximize the use of them.
I would say, you can't get away from a centralized exchange. Is what we've been alluding to. You can't get away from it. You have to on-ramp somewhere.
Yep.
I think where we come into consensus here is that DeFi is the way to go, but you got to on-ramp. So if you buy something in a centralized exchange, understand how to use a hard wallet, a soft wallet, understand those, and gain custody of whatever it is you just bought at that centralized exchange.
If you're going to leave something and invest for a long time, you need to go to DeFi.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to buy and hold for a long time, just move it into some DeFi location. If you need to on-ramp, it's going to be a centralized. You have to come on board that way. If you're going to be hopping around and trading and juking and jiving, you probably just need to leave it right where it's at in a centralized. That's the thing. The one other thing I wanted to mention that as time passes and the government gets involved and regulation happens, these centralized finance companies are going to become more reliable. If you go back into the 1820s, and you walked into a bank in the wild, wild west, your money was not that safe. You could walk into a bank, put your money in there, and it might get robbed 20 minutes later. It wasn't very reliable. Well, today we have insurance for that. The FDIC insurance will protect your money. We've added regulation, oversight, and all these things. And whether you like it or not, those things are going to happen in the crypto world. It's unfortunate in some ways, but it's good in others, because these centralized finance companies are going to become more reliable.
What? Yeah. And just one thing you will not see, right? We talk about accredited investors, right? The only way for you to get into a pre-IPO is to be an accredited investor and actually have a pull somewhere on where you're going to buy this stuff. Guess what? In a centralized exchange, you're not gonna find that, right? So you go to a DeFi network or somewhere where you find some of these tokens that are still under development. Maybe they don't even have the company running yet, but just where you can find a token that's a thousandth of a penny, and that's where you get your real asymmetric climb. So you're kind of going to have to be a combination of that and understanding that you're not going to find a lot of these tokens at a centralized exchange because they have to be safe. They have to safeguard. There's so many regulations there that they cannot go after any of these impugned tokens. So yeah, just realize that. And yeah, if you're going to take a risk into the DeFi side and buy some of these tokens, that you don't go in with large buys again. But you're not going to find them in a centralized exchange, and that's another DeFi win.
There's been some centralized exchanges that have been around a long time now. Binance, Crypto.com, things like that. FTX is the biggest negative example. That thing popped up really quickly.
Yeah.
And it flamed out really quickly. Like Binance has been steady, Crypto.com's been steady. JD could probably list off a bunch more.
Coinbase is super steady.
Yeah. Those are the kind of things that have some history to them. You can feel more secure in those things than it's something that just popped up. And those are common sense things, but there's definitely technique to moving around this world.
There definitely is. So
I got nothing else.
All right.
That's all I got to say about that.
Well, hey, again, we hope everybody found this useful. We just wanted to kind of take a step back. Most everything we just said, there's pieces of that in other videos that we've got back from a year ago. But, it's important. We feel like to get things out in front of people again, just have a little refresher day. Have a day to stop and think and pause and go, let's get back to basics again. Let's just really think about what are step 1, 2, and 3 when it comes to this crypto investing. And again, centralized, it has its place and it's useful. DeFi has its place and it's useful. And it's all part of this beautiful puzzle that goes together that can help to build your future, build your children's future in the crypto world. It's all part of that generational wealth that there's still the opportunity out there for if you're smart about it and you go out there and you read and you find out where you want to go on your path. Go out there and invest and make it happen, folks. Hey, again, thanks for spending time with us today. Javier, John.
We drained it.
I know. The video's got to be over. The beer's empty. So, hey, folks, again, thanks for being here. We enjoyed it. Whatever you do, do it well, and y'all have a great day.
Shout out to Mom.